everyone is having a good morning at home.
Oh, we are, and we've got a lot of really excited students to meet you and to see your experiment. So it's been quite some time since we met at UVA Wise, and congratulations on the crown.
Thank you.
And we were cheering for you the whole way. And when you did that experiment, I had no doubt who was going to win. So it was very exciting for me personally to watch it. So
thank you.
So let me introduce you real quick to all of our friends out here. So this is our virtual engineering camp here at STREAMWORKS. And so we have taken on a virtual challenge this year, as so many others in this country have taken on the challenge with the COVID-19. And we decided that we wanted our students to still have access to STEM education and STEM activities even during the summer months. So with better than expected results, it's been a wonderful experience. And so we're just so glad that you're here to join us and cap off our week in virtual engineering. And we couldn't have asked for a better representative and a true champion of STEM. So without further ado, let me introduce Miss Camille Schrier, who is a STEM advocate, a biochemist, currently attending, I'll let you do all that, Camille. You do so much better job of that, but
Sure.
I'm sure you have a lot to talk about. And then we do have some Q&A with the students. So without further ado, Miss Camille Schrier, Miss America 2020.
Isn't that weird to say? I still think it's weird when I introduce myself that way.
Is it Miss America 2021 as well?
Well, it's looking like it. So I started out as Miss Virginia. And so are all of you guys in Virginia?
No, we're in STREAMWORKS is located in Kingsport, Tennessee,
Okay.
but we have students from all over: Maryland, Florida, Georgia, Tennessee.
Okay, so because when I met you, we were right on the border of probably Kentucky, right? Because
That's correct, up at UVA Wise.
Absolutely. So I grew up in Pennsylvania. You guys might have read about Pennsylvania maybe when you're in history class. That's where the Declaration of Independence was signed. It was kind of like the birth of where the United States started. So I live right outside of Philadelphia, but I moved to Virginia to go to school. And so I'm a super, super science nerd. And I have loved science my whole life. And so I went to this fun college named Virginia Tech, and I studied biochemistry and systems biology, which is basically how your body is created with chemistry and how all biological things are based in chemistry. And then I also used computers to figure out how to solve problems with biology, which was super, super fun. So I went to Virginia Tech, I graduated college, and you know what? I decided that I wanted to go to college again. So I signed up to go to another school. So I stayed in Virginia and I went to a school called Virginia Commonwealth University. There's a really big hospital there, and that is why I picked it, because I wanted to learn how to become a pharmacist. So raise your hand in your box if you've ever taken a medicine before. And you know what's really cool about medicine? Medicine is made all with science, and scientists figure out how medicines work, and they figure out how to make medicines make you feel better, basically. And so I think that's so cool that we can figure that out. So I wanted to learn more about that. So I went to pharmacy school. But here's the other thing. Do you think the crown on my head has anything to do with that? Maybe, maybe not. So here's the weird thing. I was sitting in class and I used to do competitions like Miss America. Not like toddlers and tiaras, but kind of things that got me able to speak in front of people. And maybe have you guys ever had a presentation that you had to do in class, or like show and tell or something, that maybe you were a little bit nervous because you had to talk in front of everybody? I know that I feel that way all the time. And so when I was younger, I decided to start competing in these types of competitions so that I could be really comfortable in front of people. And it worked. And you know what? I got into the colleges I wanted to go to. I got internships that I wanted, but I never thought I would do it again. I wanted to focus just on school. But then last year, I was looking at an ad on my Facebook. I was scrolling through my computer at lunch, and I saw this ad for a competition called Miss Virginia. And I was like, that would be pretty cool, right? I'm about to be too old, haha. And so I figured, you know what, I'm gonna sign up. But there was a huge issue. One of the competitions in Miss Virginia is a talent competition. Have you guys ever been in a talent competition before or seen one?
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, so some people think of like America's Got Talent. I love that show. I think it's super fun. But there's something really silly about Miss Virginia sometimes. You only really ever see 5 different talents. You usually only see ladies that can dance, sing, play an instrument, twirl a baton, or do puppets, which are it's called ventriloquism. And spoiler alert, I can't do any of those things. Nobody wants to hear me sing. Nobody wants to watch me dance. I can't do those things. And so I kind of was like, you know what? I don't know if I can do this because I don't have any talent. And I remember saying that and thinking, well, that's kind of silly because I have a lot of talents. They're just not any talents that are normal to perform on stage. And so I wanted to enter, and I said, you know what? Do you remember what I said when I started this whole thing out? I said I'm a super science nerd. I love science. It's everything that I love about every part of life. And so I said, what if I did science on stage? And so I started Googling, and I figured out people that do science entertainment, and there's people that go on talk shows and they blow stuff up. And I was like, that's so cool. So maybe I could do that. And so I, by myself, ordered some chemicals, ordered some beakers, and I drove myself down to that little competition because I just wanted to try. And I was pretty sure I was gonna lose because nobody wins Miss Virginia with a science experiment, right? Wrong, just saying. And so more than this is also a lesson in doing things differently. And that's one of the really main things that I've learned about this year. You might think that there's something that's a barrier in your way. Maybe you don't think you can do something because of one reason or another. But I am here to tell you that if you set your mind to something and you find a creative solution, and I think part of the reason why I was successful in finding a creative solution was because I'm a scientist. And so scientists are always looking to innovate. You might have heard the word innovate throughout the process. And when we think of STEM, a lot of that goes back to innovation. And that's basically finding a new way to solve a problem. And so I had a problem, I figured out a creative way to solve it, and it actually helped me so much more than just doing what everybody else did. And that's so true in so many pieces of life, because you might go through the process where as you get older, you might have friends that do certain things that you don't really agree with. Or maybe you feel like you have to be like your friends. But it's so important that you do exactly what is true to who you are. So that's kind of my download of who I am as a person. So I went to Miss America after I won Miss Virginia, and I never thought I would even place. But spoiler alert again, the crown on my head gives it away. So I got to win Miss America. And the super, super cool thing is, if you guys have ever heard of a college scholarship where someone helps to pay for your school, I won $77,000 of money to go to school. And parents that are listening, it's a great deal. So that was another huge bonus. And now I spend the whole year, maybe just like your parents or your older siblings go to work every single day. I am Miss America every day. It's my full-time job. I get paid to do this every single day. So I had to take some time off from school to do that. But how cool is that? And I get to wear this super cool sparkly hat, which is part of my uniform. And it's been kind of crazy because less than a year ago, I decided to sign up for that local competition I told you guys about. So it happened really quickly. But you guys are here to talk about science. And of course, I love science. And I wanted to show you guys a tiny version of what I did at Miss America. And I say this because I have to do a tiny version. So fun fact, I'm in my house at home and the ceilings are pretty low. Does anyone want to take a guess how high up in the air my demonstration of Elephant's Toothpaste went at Miss America? You can put it in the comments if you want to guess. I want to hear your guesses. I see 100 feet, 50 feet, that's really high. I'm gonna put on my safety gear while I'm getting ready. Ooh, I see a guess that's pretty close. Okay, 15, 28, those are good guesses. 30, 15, you guys are getting close, 29, 6. So, as I put on my safety gear, my demonstration at Miss America went somewhere between 15 and 17 feet in the air.
Oh, so now 1,000?
Really tall. I want you to look up at your ceiling right now in your house. And do you think that it's 15 or 17 feet tall?
No.
No.
I'm pretty sure my ceiling's bigger.
No.
I'm pretty sure that it's not. So, do you think that your parents would like if you accidentally stained their ceilings with Elephant's Toothpaste?
No.
I wouldn't. So we're gonna do a tiny version. And so these are really tiny versions of the flasks that I used at Miss America. And funny enough, this is a little lesson of the day. Only one of these is a beaker. So do you guys want to guess which one of these is actually a beaker? The other one has a different name.
Left?
What's a beaker?
If you think this one is a beaker, raise your hand. If you think this one is a beaker, raise your hand.
I couldn't. Raise my hand first.
So this is a beaker,
Oh.
and then this one is called an Erlenmeyer Flask.
Wow.
And these are super fun. This is what I use for my demonstration, but I need this for something else while we do this. So I have 6 of these that I'm gonna put out. And have you guys ever seen Elephant's Toothpaste happen before? It's a really fun demonstration. Some of you have.
I have.
I saw you do it.
You saw me do it. I do it all the time. It's my favorite one to do. And so Elephant's Toothpaste is what you always see when you see Elephant's Toothpaste is foam. And so that's what we're trying to create. We're trying to get foam to happen. So we need a couple different ingredients to do it. What I have here, you guys recognize this bottle? Have you ever seen this in your house?
Yes. Hydrogen
Peroxide?
I heard someone say hydrogen peroxide.
I was trying to, but I
Hydrogen
forgot what
peroxide.
it was.
But there's a very special reason why I have these gloves on and these glasses and my lab coat. This is almost 12 times stronger than the hydrogen peroxide in your house.
Oh.
And so it can burn my skin, and I don't want to burn my skin. So I'm gonna put a little bit of this in here. Hydrogen peroxide is really special, and it's part of why it's in this brown bottle. So have you guys ever been in your room, you maybe have like blackout curtains in your room to keep all of the light out? Or maybe you just have regular curtains that keeps the light from coming into your room. So that's kind of why this is in that dark bottle, because it works like blackout curtains. It keeps all the light out, because what happens with light, maybe in the summertime, my hair gets really light in the summertime, and that's because the sun can break things down and it can make things change. And so we want to make sure that the hydrogen peroxide stays super, super strong when we do this. So I'm going to put all my hydrogen peroxide in here. Takes me a second. And hydrogen peroxide actually is pretty similar to water. It just has another hydrogen on it. Actually, no, another oxygen on it. Why did I say hydrogen? Has another oxygen on it. So when I say that water is H2O, does that make sense to you? Have you ever heard of H2O being water?
No.
So now you know. And hydrogen peroxide is H2O2. So we have an extra oxygen. And where else do we find oxygen? Do we use it? Oh, I see a lot of this. That's awesome. Yes, it's in the air around us. And that's kind of how we're going to form our foam. Because when we take the oxygen out of here, it's going to bubble up out of the liquid and form bubbles. But what if we could catch all those bubbles? Do you guys like blowing bubbles? I think bubbles are super fun. And one really great thing to use to blow bubbles is dish soap. So I'm going to put a squirt of dish soap in each of these. And really what that's going to do is it's going to catch all of the gas that comes out. So we're going to do that. And here comes the really fun part. Do you guys want to take a guess of maybe if I were to make these colored, how do I make them colored? I see a hand in Henry's box, if Henry, you want to say. You're probably on mute.
Henry, go ahead and unmute yourself, buddy. There you go.
Henry, how do you think I get it to be colored?
You can add, my first guess is food dye.
Good guess. I had a feeling you were going to have a good guess. So I use food coloring. It's the same thing that you use when you're cooking or baking, but it actually does a really good job in making it really colorful. So we're going to pick a couple different colors here. I'm going to get all my dyes out. I'm going to go down here. And there's a really specific purpose for why I use food dye. And that is because it's fun. I think that it's really important that we remember how fun science is. And I think science is really fun. And this particular demonstration is such a cool representation of how fun and colorful and exciting that science can be. It's funny because some people tell me that they think science is boring. And I'm like, how can you think that science is boring? Science is the coolest thing. And it's really cool because literally everything that you do every day is so connected with science. So like you're all on a computer right now, right? Maybe an iPad, maybe a phone. Do you know that scientists and computer scientists and engineers helped to make that? Maybe if you or your parents have a cell phone, those are all made by scientists, which I think is awesome. And scientists also can make medicines. They can make so many different things that make our lives so much easier and better. And that's why I just get so excited when I talk about science. So I'm going to swirl these, get some good colors going. But now we have to do the fun part. And so we said we're looking for foam. Now, hydrogen peroxide creates oxygen when it breaks down. And technically, it's breaking down right now. Do you see any bubbles? I don't. It's not very exciting. So if we use something to help break it down faster, it will have lots and lots of bubbles, and that's what we want. And so I describe this other chemical that I'm going to use like if you were trying to ride your bike up a hill. Maybe it would be really hard because you're like trying to pedal up the hill and you get really tired and it takes you really long. But if you had a motor on your bike, it would be a lot easier to get up the hill. And basically what's in here is the motor for your bike. And this is called a catalyst. And its main job is just to speed up the reaction. And so I'm gonna put this in, but I'm actually gonna tilt my computer down so you guys can see this, and I'm gonna move these forward a little bit so then they don't get all over the place. Science at home. I do this a lot now. It's actually pretty fun. So this is called potassium iodide, which is a fancy name for this is going to be my catalyst. Move these. Okay, so we're gonna run over one more time what's gonna happen here. In each of these little things, which are my Erlenmeyer flasks, I have concentrated hydrogen peroxide, I have food coloring, and I have dish soap. And what we're hoping to do is make foam by releasing oxygen from the hydrogen peroxide. And what we're going to do is take this, which is my catalyst, and I'm going to put it in, and it's going to create lots of gas and lots of bubbles. And all those bubbles are going to be because the gas gets trapped in the dish soap. Are you ready? Okay. Here's the moment of truth. Ready? Whoa. 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 Oop, I'm losing my, it's going over.
It's big.
Okay, now what you can't see here is there's a bunch of steam. I don't know if you can see the steam, but there's a lot of steam. And the really interesting part of this, like when I put my hands right here, it's actually really warm. The really cool thing is that when you do a reaction like this, it releases heat. This is called an exothermic reaction, which is just the fact that it releases heat when it happens. And so it actually gets really, really hot. And so if you saw my demonstration at Miss America, I told you it went 17 feet in the air, right? This is tiny, but this is hot. So I want you to think about how hot the one that I did at Miss America got. I actually had to bring thermal gloves. Maybe if you've ever seen your dad or your mom out on the grill, they're protective to keep you from burning yourself because it got so hot. And so this is really, really cool. And what you're seeing right now, the real name of the reaction is the catalytic, so we used my motor, the catalytic decomposition, so like breaking down of hydrogen peroxide. And so this is a very tiny, tiny version of what I did at Miss America. And it was really, really cool. But again, I want you to go back and think about kind of what I said before. I was the only one who did something like this. And sometimes it can be kind of scary to be the only person doing something different. So I was backstage getting ready to go on with my goggles, with my lab coat, and with all of my glassware. And all of the other girls had dance shoes. And they had microphones to sing. And I was there with my beakers. And that can be a really scary moment. And you might have a moment like that at some point in your life where you realize that you are the only one doing something. But think about how awesome that is when you get to do something completely different, and then that helps you to get to a certain point. So that is my demonstration. I'm gonna let this sit here, and what you're gonna watch is that all of the bubbles are gonna start to pop, and so it kind of just sinks down. So you'll see it as I'm talking. But I wanna give you guys an opportunity to ask some questions. I know that we have a little bit of time for a question and answer. And Dennis, I don't know if you want to do it by them putting it in the chat box, or if they want to like raise their hand in their box. You'll have to let me know what is the easiest for you.
Okay, so we have a few of our students that have jotted down some questions for you. So I'll kind of MC it, and we'll go from there. How's that sound?
Amazing.
Okay, so first up is Lindsay. Lindsay, can you unmute yourself and ask Miss America a question? Oh, she's trying to unmute herself.
You got it.
Let me help her. All right, Lindsay, you're up.
What made you start doing pageants?
The real reason I ever started was because I was a little shy, and I always did sports and school, and I never got the opportunity to speak in front of people. And it was a great way for me to learn how to be comfortable in front of a group. I also learned how to interview. and interviewing is a huge skill that you need in your life. So that's really why I started, and it was kind of a fun activity to do with my parents over the summer. So it was just for fun in the beginning.
Awesome. All right, thank you, Lindsay. Next up is Henry. Henry, can you ask Miss America your question, please? Make sure you unmute yourself. There you go.
So, how much do you travel as Miss America?
That's a really good question, and there's two answers for that, because there's the normal answer and then the realistic right now answer. The real answer is right now I have been home for almost 4 months because of COVID. But in real life, so before COVID happened, I travel around 20,000 miles a month. I usually change cities every 24 to 48 hours. So like every day or two, I usually maybe only spend one night in the same hotel, and then I have to pack up everything and go to a new hotel. So I barely came home for the first 3 months that I was Miss America. And that's the normal Miss America kind of life, but this is not a normal year. So I've been home and doing a lot from home for now, but I'm looking forward to being able to go back on the road and being able to go to events and do things in person.
Awesome. And we need to talk to you about next year, because with your extending contract,
I'll still be here.
Yeah, that's good. We'd love to see you visit. So hopefully we can get you back up to Northeast Tennessee soon. Absolutely. In 2021. So good job, Henry. Jacob, do you have a question? Can you unmute yourself, please? Go for it, Jacob. Uh-oh. You're still muted, buddy. Can you unmute yourself? There you go.
Okay. What are some of your responsibilities as Miss America?
Oh, that's a good question.
That's a really good question. Many things. I basically have two real jobs: to promote the Miss America organization and kind of help bring more people to the organization. But my other job is to promote my own personal social impact initiative, which is a fancy name for a social cause. So like something in our world that I'm passionate about changing. And I focus a lot on drugs. And so you guys have probably heard of the idea of drugs and that drugs are bad. But I focus a lot on helping people who are addicted to drugs get into a better place and find a better life, and to prevent other people from becoming addicted to drugs. And so I do a lot of work in that. So just as much as I spend time as Miss America, I'm also working to help people who are facing drug addiction. I also do a lot with science. And so I do a lot of demonstrations, and it's basically a year for me to live out all of the passions that I do in my life, like science and drug safety. So that's pretty cool. I also go to like silly events sometimes, like I'll do parades and I'll do other things, which are just for fun. But I do a lot of serious work too, which I think that a lot of people don't necessarily know about Miss America.
Good question.
Really good question.
Thank you, Jacob. Tina, you're up. Can you unmute yourself? I just unmuted you. Tina, are you with us, dear? Tanisha, can you hear me? I don't know. I don't think Tanisha can hear us. Let's go to Miss Olivia. Olivia, can you unmute yourself? There you go. There you go. You're up. All right, Miss Olivia.
What has been your favorite appearance as Miss America so far?
What has been my favorite? I think that my favorite appearance, this is a hard question. Okay, so again, super science nerd, I got to go to a science museum in Richmond, Virginia, that actually is like right around the corner from where I lived in Richmond, but I had no idea that it was there the entire time. And I got to go and do a demonstration there for a bunch of students in Virginia, and I just had so much fun there. I think some of my favorite appearances in general are the ones where I get to do my demonstrations and bring science directly to people. It's really, really funny because I actually frequently find myself traveling with chemicals, which is it's pretty hard on a plane. So I have to go on the train most of the time because I can bring the chemicals on the train, but I can't bring them on a plane. So you should see me with my suitcase full of chemicals going to appearances. But those are probably my favorite things to be able to do because, again, I'm super nerdy sciencey, and it's really, really fun to be able to share that with other people.
Very cool. All right, next up we have Jack. Jack, can you hear me? Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Take off my gloves.
My computer's freaking out.
All right, Jack, you're up, dude.
How long have you been in school?
How long have I been at school?
Yeah.
Seems like forever. So I went to college the first time for 5 years instead of 4. And then I went to another year of my doctoral program, which was another 4-year program, but I only finished 1 year of it. So I have 3 more years left. So I've been in college for 6 years, but I also went right from graduating high school into college. So this is like the first year of my whole life that I haven't been in school. So that's really weird. I will be in school forever, basically, is the long story short.
I know the feeling. So good question, Jack. Jax Templeton, you're up, man. Unmute yourself. All right, you should be unmuted. We're having some technical difficulties with Jax and his unmute button. There we go. You're unmuted now. Go, Jax. All right, Jax, you ready?
You guys say that one more time.
What's your hope for the children in our generation? What's your hope for the children in our generation?
I think the question was, what is your hope for the children of our generation?
That's a really big question.
That's a big one.
I hope 2 things. I hope that you don't feel like you have to be like everybody else, because that's not true. And I hope that you find something about science that you like, because even if you think that you don't like science, there is something in science that touches your life every single day. And it's also a really wonderful career path because it will lead you to an ability to kind of be financially stable in your life, which was something that was important to me. But more than anything, I think it's important to follow your passions and do things that are true to who you are, and don't let anybody else change that.
Very good. Good question, Jax.
Big
All
question.
right, let's keep going. Let's see. I'm looking for hands. Who has their hand up? Micah. Let's go to Micah. Where's Micah? Okay, Micah, I'm going to unmute you. And you should be ready to go. Go for it, Micah.
Well, actually, I don't have a question. My sister has a question.
Hi,
Sister has a question. Okay.
Because Miss America is coming, I just wanted to know how old you have to be to try in the challenge of Miss America or Miss Virginia.
Okay, good question. So there's 2 answers to that. We also have a teen program. So to do like Miss Virginia's Outstanding Teen or Miss America's Outstanding Teen, you have to be between 13 and 17. And then to be Miss America or Miss Virginia, you have to have graduated high school, number 1, or be 18 to 25. So, but you have to, I think you have to have graduated high school either way. But 18 to 25.
Yeah.
Okay,
And so I was almost too old. So that tells you how old I
Yeah.
am.
Okay, can you hear okay?
Yeah.
Good
I'll
question.
go get my shoes.
All right, let's see. I think Tina came back, and where's Miss Tina?
I joined in on my mom's phone because I'm
Okay.
going to the dentist.
Oh, okay.
And I can't bring the computer with me.
I understand. So do you have your question, Tina?
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
Why is it important that females are involved in STEM?
Oh, that's a good question.
You guys have really good questions. In my opinion, I think that it's important. There's a lot of talk about diversity right now in our world in so many different ways. And I think that it's always important in every aspect of life, whether or not it's science or anything, that there is a diverse representation of different backgrounds and different thought processes, because maybe I have experience that maybe a male counterpart or another guy might not think about. And that's totally okay. That's the beauty of having people that have different experiences. So I think that it's really important that women are able to be represented, because we have good ideas too. And what if a woman is the one who happens to have the idea that cures cancer? We want to make sure that she has the opportunity to be able to do that. And so I think that's kind of why I think it's so important. I also love science, so I wouldn't want someone to think that I am less of a scientist just because I'm a woman. And I think that there's been such awesome progress in our world, especially for women in science. I'm really grateful. I know that I've talked to people much older than I, more even older than my parents' age, who are women scientists, who really dealt with a lot of struggles when they were going through their education that I have never dealt with. So I think that that's why it's really important.
Good job, Tina. Carson, you have a question for Camille?
Yes. Can you tell us more about your platform, Mind Your Meds?
Yes, absolutely. So that was what I was talking about when I said that I work a lot with people that are facing drug addiction. But there are really two sides of this. So I asked you guys in the beginning if you've ever taken a medicine. Most of you have. And there's two pieces of Mind Your Meds. The first piece really deals with people that just take regular medications every single day. The really cool thing about medicine is that it can make you feel better, but there's a dangerous part of medication where if you don't take it properly, or if you take too much, or if you take it at the wrong time, it can actually hurt you. And so it's really important to make sure that we're very careful. And sometimes at your age particularly, you're probably having your parents give you your medicines. And so a lot of parents can be really overwhelmed because your safety is in their hands, and that can be really overwhelming sometimes. So I teach a lot about just generally how to be safe when you're taking medicines. But then some medicines can be dangerous and lead to addiction, which is basically when you feel like you have to keep taking them. And I talk a lot with people who face this. And then sometimes that can lead into drug addiction. And so let me be the one to tell you that drugs are bad. What everyone has told you already is true. And it's really important to stay away from those things because, if you maybe go out and exercise during the day and you make sure that you eat your vegetables and drink enough water to keep yourself healthy, another thing to add to that list is to make sure that you stay away from drugs and alcohol because those are things that are not good for your bodies right now. And it's always important to think of how serious that is. It's not just a mistake that you might make that you can just say sorry for. It can be something that can really damage your body. So I do a lot of work with that. And so that's pretty cool. I also teach people how to use a certain kind of medication that can save people who are facing a drug overdose. which is something, unfortunately, that happens all the time. But for now, it's important to know that you never put anything in your mouth that you don't know what it is or you haven't asked what it is, because a lot of times that could maybe be something that's not good for you or have medicine in it. So that's my spiel of the day.
Awesome. Oliver, did you have a question? Oh, let me unmute you, Oliver. There you go. You're unmuted.
What made you decide to do a chemistry experiment as your talent?
Okay, this has a short answer and a long answer. The short answer is I didn't have anything else to do because I can't sing and I can't dance. And so I was trying so hard to find something that I could do, but I also really wanted to do something that was representative of who I am. Because think of it, this is a competition where you are trying to prove why you're the right person to do this job. And if you can use something that's true to you to teach those, because there's judges that are picking you. If I had the opportunity to tell the judges a little bit more about how much of a science nerd I am, that was a great time. And honestly, it's just something I'm so passionate about. And fun fact, when I was trying to figure out how to do science demonstrations to use on stage, I told you I was Googling, and I started watching these videos of people that do science demonstrations, and I was like, this is so cool. I'm like, I want to do this. And now I've gotten the chance to work with a lot of those people that I had like watched their videos in my bedroom. And it was a really cool opportunity to just really change everything up and do something different. But it really came from the fact that I can't sing or dance. And that actually was a huge blessing in the end.
Cool. Jax, buddy, are you ready to ask your question? Go for it, man. We can't hear you. I don't have any volume. Can you type your question? You're not muted, but I have no volume for you. All right, we'll come back to Jax. Maybe if you can type your question in for us. All right, Caleb. Where's Caleb? Caleb, are you with us? I'm going to unmute you and ask a question. There you go.
Why did you decide to be a pharmacist?
Oh, that's a good one.
Good question. So you guys might think of a pharmacist and you think of the person behind the counter in your pharmacy that gives you the medicines. And that was what I always thought that pharmacists were. I was like, why would I want to be a pharmacist? All they do is count pills in the back of the pharmacy and give them to people. That's not very exciting. Long story short, that is not what pharmacists do. They do a lot more than that. And I actually got the chance to work in a company that makes medicines when I was in college. And so like during a summer, so like this time a couple years ago, I went to work there every single day. And I saw that people that were pharmacists worked in these companies that made medicines. And they really started to show me how much more you can do with a pharmacy degree. So I actually am hoping to take what I've learned in pharmacy school and go back into one of those companies, because those are the people that are actually creating and producing the medicines that we take every single day. And how cool is that to be on the forefront of that? That was part of what I was saying before, how I think it's so amazing that medicines can make us feel better and that we can create these products that really change our lives. So that is what made me want to be a pharmacist. I worked under a pharmacist when I had that job in a pharmaceutical company. And that was really, really cool. And he made me want to go be a pharmacist. So that's what I ended up to doing.
That's good. That's good. That's good. All right, Emily.
So you told us that like when you were younger you did pageants and then you kind of like fell out of it and then you went back into them for Miss Virginia. But when you were younger, like did you ever think you would go back into them and be Miss America? And like were you like very good at them, or did you just do it more for experience?
I never ever thought I would go back to it. So when I was like 18, which seems like a million years ago now, I said, I'm never doing this again. I'm done. I got out of it what I wanted to. I learned how to speak in front of people. I learned how to interview. I had a couple other crowns in my lifetime, but I was really done with it. I wanted to focus on school, and I was like, I don't really see what else I'm going to gain from this. I'm a person that definitely assesses what I'm doing, and I say, okay, what am I going to get out of this experience? Or is this something that is worth spending my time on? And Miss America, remember I told you guys in the beginning, this comes with a huge amount of scholarship money that helped me pay for my school. And so when I then, 6 years after being the person that said I would never do this again, when I realized, well, you know, maybe if I do this one more time, I might have the opportunity to pay for a lot of my school. That seemed like a good reason to try. And I really never thought that I just really never thought I would do it again. And the joke in my family was that, okay, well, maybe she'll do it one more time. And I was like, no, I'm never gonna do it, I'm done. And I did it one more time, and I won. So that was a huge blessing, and it pays for almost all of my pharmacy school. So that has been a really good bonus.
Awesome question. Let's see, I think, let's see, I have a question from Autumn. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Autumn, and ask your question. Let me try to help you out, Autumn. There you go.
How many people and how long did it take to clean up the experiment afterwards?
Not very long, because I did it on live TV at the end. So it was a live broadcast on NBC television. So I had to make sure that it could be cleaned up really fast, because live TV doesn't stop just because Miss Virginia made a huge mess. So we had like pre-planned. I didn't know if I was going to make it to the point where I got to do it on live TV, but we had a plan, and I say we, meaning me and all of the stage crew, had a plan that if I did get to that point, how we were going to manage it. So underneath my table, because all the foam fell on the floor, underneath my table, there was a huge tarp. And what they did, I think probably 4 or 5 people carried the entire tarp and the whole table off the stage immediately. And then I was busy because I was competing for Miss America at the time. They were the ones that actually cleaned everything up for me. So they were my saviors. I had to do the demonstration 3 different times at Miss America. And the last time I did it was the one on TV. I didn't have time to wash the glasses, so I had to bring 3 different sets of everything. I had 3 full sets of chemicals and 3 full sets of all the glassware. And so all of the people backstage just kind of like wiped everything off and put them back in my box where they came from. But I didn't have to clean it up, which was kind of a good thing because I wouldn't have had time. But probably 5 or 6 people. But it happened really fast is the moral of the story, because it had to.
That's awesome. All right, I think we got time for maybe 2 more questions. And my buddy Jax had a question, and he was unable to unmute himself, or something's going on. So I want to ask that question for him. But Jax's question actually is a statement too. It's a thank you, in which I think we all thank you for spending your time with us today. Jax says your experiment was really cool. And his question is, what do you think STEM jobs of the future will look like? That's a good question.
Gosh, that is a really good question. I mean, I think more than anything, STEM jobs are going to look like almost every job, because I think that many jobs are becoming somewhat of a STEM job, especially with technology. I mean, technology is something I haven't talked a lot about throughout this process, but technology is booming. Like if we think about how the fact that we're on Zoom right now doing a meeting because we're all at home, wow, like 10 or 15 years ago, we couldn't have done something like this. And I think that we're going to continue to see technology infiltrate and really become part of every job that we do. And those jobs are just going to continue to grow. And that's one of the really cool things about being in science is that it allows you to, you're not worried about getting a job because there's so many more jobs to get in science. But I think a lot of technology is going to be a piece of it. It's even like technology has come into pharmacy because there are now machines that they take the prescription and they fill it for the patient in some places. And so I'm just there to check it. So even some of my jobs are getting automated in terms of pharmacy. So lots of technology, but also lots of jobs. I'm excited to see what STEM jobs in the future are actually going to end up looking like.
And hopefully these guys will be filling those jobs because
yes, you will.
They love to build robots and underwater robots with our MATE program, Marine Advanced Technology Education, which we need to get you to one of those competitions soon. So that'll be really cool. All right, I've got time for maybe one more question. Pierce Adler, let me unmute you, buddy, and you're up, dude.
My question is, so I actually have two questions. Question number one, what has been your favorite part of being Miss America so far? And question number two, do you watch Mythbusters?
Okay, two very good questions. I think my favorite part of being Miss America so far is getting to go to all of the schools that I've gone to. So almost in every city that I go to, I end up finding myself in a school. And I just love talking to young people about how much I love science. I will say that the younger population like you guys, you're way more excited about my science than the adults a lot of the time. So it's a lot more fun to share it with you than adults sometimes. I'm just saying, so thank you guys for enjoying it because I enjoy it. And for Mythbusters, I have probably watched Mythbusters since I was like 6. I love Mythbusters. I'm trying to find a way to contact the people from Mythbusters to let me come on and do some stuff with them because they are so cool. And I love that they make, because Mythbusters is so much about science and they make it so fun. And that's exactly what I try to do too, is make science fun. So yay to Mythbusters.
Okay, one last question. I've got Weasels. You guys are I've been wanting to ask a question and you're dying to ask a question. This is the last question.
Okay.
Unfortunately, it's all we have time for. So Weasels, you're up.
We came on late, so what were the ingredients to the elephant toothpaste? That's all we wanted to ask.
Oh,
so we can make it ourselves.
So before I did this, I put hydrogen peroxide, which is right here, hydrogen peroxide, food coloring to make it colored, and then I used dish soap in there. And I mixed that all up, and then I used a chemical called potassium iodide, and that is what actually started the reaction and made it foam up and do its little elephant's toothpaste thing, which was pretty cool. So it's not too many ingredients. You can also, I'll tell you guys, you can do this at home with ingredients that you can find in your house. Instead of using this potassium iodide, you can use yeast. So maybe if you've ever made bread, you can just use a packet of baker's yeast, and you can ask your parents or you can Google yourself just elephant's toothpaste at home. It's pretty easy. It's not as exciting as this one is, but it's still pretty fun to do.
That's awesome. And Camille, I think when the last time you and I met, you mentioned what got you into chemistry was actually baking cookies and baking with your family in your mom's kitchen. So so maybe STREAMWORKS students at home, there's a lot of science and cool chemistry in edible versions of chocolate chip cookies. So, but Miss America, we are I'm so excited to finally get to meet you again, and thank you again for spending your afternoon with us and for sharing so much really cool STEM stuff with our students. And so we just thank you very much, and we wish you the best. And we hope to get you over here maybe in March sometime. I'll reach out and we'll do an invite, but we'd love to have you visit and and maybe we'll see all these guys again. So
I would love to. So thank you for having me too. This was so much fun, guys. I hope that this was a fun little activity for you guys to do during your camp. And I will also say, I went to science camps every single summer when I was growing up and when I was your age. And good for you guys for going to science camp, because science camp is so fun. I did so many things in science camp that I remember to this day. So have fun in the rest of your program.